You were in a semi-truck crash weeks ago, and you're still dealing with pain, bills, and insurance headaches, but no one explained what you can actually claim or how much money you're potentially leaving on the table. I'm Guy DiMartino, an injury lawyer here in Indiana, and I've walked hundreds of clients through this exact situation. In this video, I'll show you the key damages most people miss after a collision like this, including ones insurance company won't volunteer to you. So you can claim what you're owed, avoid costly mistakes, and stop second guessing whether your case is being handled the right way. Now let's start with number one because this is the biggest trap. Medical expenses are more than just your ER bill. Most people think medical expenses mean the ambulance ride, the ER visit, maybe x-rays, and that's it. But semi-truck collisions are rarely minor. These are cases where injuries can mean hospital stays, specialists, procedures, and months of rehab. In Indiana, the goal is to claim the reasonable and necessary medical care tied to the crash. That's not just what you've paid so far. It can include the entire chain of treatment that's connected or causally related to your injury. So instead of thinking, what do I owe today? Ask, what care does this injury realistically require? That can include doctor's visits, physical therapy, surgery, prescriptions, medical devices, and even help at home if you can't safely do your basic tasks on your own. Now, here's the part most people miss, and it's a huge one. Future medical expenses. If your doctor expects future medical treatment, more therapy, injections, future imaging, or even possible surgery down the line, those projected costs matter. And the way that you protect them is by getting it documented clearly in writing in your medical records. Do not let the insurance company push you into settling while your care is still unfolding. That is how people end up paying out of pocket later on in life for treatment that they should have been compensated for because of the accident. And one more thing that belongs in the medical category, and that is your mental health. If you're dealing with anxiety or nightmares, panic behind the wheel, or PTSD symptoms after a truck crash, counseling and therapy can be a legitimate part of your damages. Truck collisions can be traumatic. They are big, and Indiana law doesn't pretend that that trauma is fake. So the takeaway on medical expenses is simple. Don't just total up the bills that you have today. Map out the treatment you'll need. Now, once you understand the medical side, there's a second category that can quietly surpass your medical bills, especially if you have a physical job. If you've missed work after the semi-truck collision, you should look at the wages you already lost, but don't stop there. In serious injury cases, the bigger issue is what your injury does to your future work life. Let me repeat that. What your injury does, how it is going to impact your future work life. If you can't return to the same job, if you can't work the same hours, if you have to switch to lighter work that pays less, or if your career path has to change, the financial hit can stretch for years. And this isn't just about paychecks. It can also include overtime that you lost, missed bonuses, missed promotions, lost benefits like retirement matching or other health benefits that are tied to your employment. Here's a practical example. If you were doing warehouse work or construction or nursing, anything that requires lifting, standing, or repetitive motion, a back or a shoulder injury can force you into a lower paying role long term. That difference matters. The key here is that you have to document the changes. You want proof of what you used to earn, what you were on track to earn, and what you can earn now given your limitations. And if you're self-employed or you do gig work, you still need a paper trail. That means records of income before and after the crash. So the change is measurable. So we have a point in time that we can look at and compare. Now, here's the mistake that kills this category. Settling before you understand all your work restrictions. Insurance companies love early settlements because early settlements happen before the long-term impact to the injured person is clear. And this leads perfectly into category number 3 because this is the one people feel awkward claiming, even though it's often the most human and real part of a personal injury case, and that is pain and suffering. You see, pain and suffering is not just having a sore neck or a sore back. It's the daily impact of what the crash did to your life, how your injury feels, how long it lasts, how it affects your sleep, how it affects your driving, how it affects your relationships, your mood, your energy, and your ability to do the normal things of living, your activities of daily living without having to think about it. Insurance companies love to act like there's some neat formula for pain and suffering. There isn't. This category is often influenced by how severe the injury is, how long recovery takes, whether there are permanent limitations, your age and health before the crash, and how much your normal life has changed. So instead of trying to describe it in big dramatic statements, describe it in real little details. Maybe you used to pick up your kids without thinking about it, and now you can. Maybe you used to work out, play sports, do yard work, take weekend trips, and now you avoid everything because when you do it, it hurts, and because you're afraid of re-injuring the area. That is loss. And Indiana law recognizes that the impact of the injury is not limited to just receipts. If you want a simple way to strengthen this category, keep a daily or weekly journal. Not a novel, just a record of what you felt, what you couldn't do, what activities you missed, what your problems were or how they worsened after you did certain things, what improved, what stayed the same. When your story is consistent and specific, it's hard to minimize. Now, category number 4, and that's the one that make people say, wait, I can claim that too? If your vehicle was damaged, you might already be thinking, oh, that's handled. But after a semi-truck crash, property losses often go beyond the vehicle itself. There are things in the vehicle that could have been damaged. Think about what they could be. Phones, laptops, childcare seats, your glasses, work equipment, medical devices, anything that was damaged in the crash. Also consider the loss of use of your vehicle. If you were without a vehicle for days or weeks, there may be transportation costs, rentals, ride shares, and practical expenses tied to you being unable to drive your car. And in some cases, there could be a diminished value of your vehicle. Even if a car is repaired, it may be worth less because it now has a crash history, and that loss can matter. The easiest way to protect this category is to document everything immediately and keep replacement receipts. If you had to replace a childcare seat, for example, that's not optional. It's a safety requirement. Now we get to category number 5. And this is the hardest one to talk about, but it matters, and it needs to be said clearly. If your loved one was killed in the semi-truck collision in Indiana, the law allows certain family members to pursue wrongful death damages. These damages can include medical bills tied to final injury, funeral and burial costs, the loss of income and support the person would have provided, and the loss of love, companionship, and guidance. No amount of money makes this right. It doesn't fix the loss, but these damages exist because the impact of losing someone in a truck accident is deep and lasting, and the law recognizes that negligence can change a family's future permanently. Indiana also has specific rules about who can bring a wrongful death claim and how long they have to act. In many situations, there's a 2-year deadline from the date of the accident, but the details matter, and there can be exceptions in certain circumstances. If you're in this situation, do not sit on it. The sooner you get clarity, the more options you usually have. Now let's pull all this together. After a semi-truck collision in Indiana, your claim may involve medical costs, including future care, lost income, including future lost income, pain and suffering for how your life changed, property losses beyond the vehicle, and in fatal cases, wrongful death damages. And the biggest mistake people make is assuming the insurance company will include everything automatically. They won't. Trucking companies and their insurers do this every day. They're professionals at paying as little as possible, and if you don't know what categories exist, you don't know what you're missing. If you want to make sure you're not leaving money on the table, the next video you need to watch is the one about getting the most for your neck and back injuries after a car accident, because neck and back injuries are where insurance companies try to downplay symptoms, blame pre-existing issues, and pressure people into settling too early. Click that next video now, and I will see you over there.